Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Yevamot page 81, which discusses a concept called bittul, that when you have a forbidden mixture and it's together with something else, so even though in this big mixture is this one thing that is forbidden, but because it's mixed in with so many other things, so it loses its sense of identity and therefore it becomes permissible. There's explanation that maybe one of those items, the equivalent of whatever that volume of that which is forbidden, that should be removed. But all of the other remaining parts inside this are permissible. Now, the Talmud here talks about two exceptions, and there are many to discuss, but on this page it discusses two. So let's say, for example, you have a sacrifice called a sin offering, a chatas, in which the Kohen is allowed to eat, and that got mixed up with regular meat. Now, normally we would say this concept is, okay, it's batel, and therefore it's not a problem. But since a Kohen is allowed to eat all of this meat, we're not going to say that a non-Kohen is allowed to eat it because it's all mixed in and it's batel. We're not going to say that. Instead, you could just simply sell this item to a Kohen at a lower cost because of supply and demand. There's not so many people that could eat this, and therefore the cost will be a little bit lower. But this small financial loss, we're not going to be lenient and say, okay, it's all nullified. Also, the Talmud here talks about something called a davar shebeminyan. Now, when it comes to something like, for example, a pound of rice, so a person is not going to count every single little piece of rice and say, okay, I want 43,000 pieces of rice. That is something in which each item is not considered to be unique and special, or in Hebrew, a davar chashuv. And therefore, if that got mixed in and some of it, let's say, for some reason was impure or the like, we say that it will be batel because it's together with so much permissible rice, and therefore it's batel. However, if it's a davar chashuv, something which is unique and special, in that situation, if let's say, like for example, pieces of sushi, so you don't just say, yeah, I'm going to sell you 40 pounds of sushi. Every single piece is accounted for. Every roll is accounted for. So that's a davar chashuv. And therefore, if those items get mixed in, then it's not batel. So we see, again, it's interesting that when it's something that's counted continuously, that shows its greatness. And the reason why is because the person doing the counting is acknowledging that this is something very special, which reminds us of the very beginning in the book of Numbers. Rashi comments that we find in the beginning of the book of Numbers that God is counting the Jewish people. And Rashi says this is not the only time where God counts them. He counts them all the time. And the question is, why would God need to count them? After all, God knows how many people are part of the Jewish nation. So what is the significance of counting? Perhaps it's based on what we're seeing here on this page. It shows that the item, or in this case, the people, are something which is a davar chashuv, that they're very special and precious in the eyes of God. And just like when there's something precious, like these pieces of food, that they can never become nullified, so too by God counting the Jewish people, he's giving the same message.